Okay. We are live, I think. Let me get back on there. Hey, how about you, everybody? Welcome into this week's edition of the Auburn Live call-in show. I'm your host, Jeffrey Lee, Senior Recruiting Editor for Auburn Live on 3, and I'm joined, as I always am, by Mr. Jhead, Mr. Cole Pinkston, Mr. Keith Eber. How about you, fellas?
How about you, brother? And with that, I think Jay Lee is frozen, guys.
Did I freeze?
Yeah, man.
Just a touch.
How about now?
Catching
back.
up.
Yeah.
So I'm still hearing some echo. Catching up?
You're good now.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. You're good.
Mm-hmm. Hello. Yeah.
Still getting some echo?
Yeah, I'm just now hearing myself from a minute ago. Let me drop out and come back in. Okay.
All right. And I guess with that.
Well, hey, while we're waiting for Jeff, I'll just tell everybody that I spent Friday afternoon at the Valspar Championship, the PGA golf tournament in the Tampa Bay, and got to watch Patton Kizzire play, the former Auburn player. And yeah, excited. Well, I mean, that wasn't my main guy, but it was fun watching him. And he made the cut, made himself a good bit of money with the top 10 finish this weekend. So
nice.
No, that's not what everybody wants to talk about, but we're gonna get rolling once Jeffrey Lee gets back in. There he is. There's the J-Man.
There he is.
Yeah, bye, everybody.
Jeffrey, we filled the time by me talking about pro golf, so thank God you're back. Okay.
Nice. I'm trying to see if my movement's matching up with my movements. All right, here we go, man. Hey, how about you, everybody? Welcome in to this week's edition of the Auburn Live call-in show. I'm your host, Jeffrey Lee, Senior Canadian for Auburn Live on 3. And today is, what is today, fellas? I don't know, man. Sunday, March the 19th.
Yes.
We are 2 days removed from a situational scrimmage Auburn had on Friday. We're also 2 days removed from several top recruits visiting Auburn. Auburn obviously lost out of the basketball tournament Saturday night to a very good Houston team. Houston.
Yes.
If you ever hear somebody pronounce it Houston, like Houston's backcourt is huge. Well, see, Joseph Ballard wants to know already, man. I've got to tell him. He wants to know where to buy a house. Who can he hit? Who can he call? He needs a house, folks. I've got your big dog, JB. Call Jessica Andrews with the Talents Group, 334-704-4442. Residential properties, investment properties, man. She does it all. She sells your home quick. Very good. She's a very good selling agent, man. She can also find it, man. She's got a good network of people. She knows people that are looking and knows how to get it done. Jessica Andrews with the Talents Group, 5-star realtor, 334-704-4442. Tell her Mr. Ballard sent you. All right, folks. We're going to wait on our first caller because I know a lot of people are on hold right now, Zach. But we do want all the calls we can, man. 701-779-9585 is the number to join us, to talk to us live, to ask us questions, to give your comments on whatever it is. Auburn football recruiting, Auburn basketball recruiting. It's all about to get heated up. And we're going to do our best to cover it all. First of all, let's give a little recap, Zach, if we're not waiting for anyone.
We got one caller.
All right, let's hit it, man. Let's hit it.
2428. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Johnny Call again from Sharpsburg, Georgia.
Who was it? I'm sorry.
Have a little beef with you guys about.
Go ahead with the beef, man. Lay it on us.
Where's the beef?
Yeah.
Little Arby's action. I like it, Keith.
You're live. Are you still there?
Walker White sitting there recruiting for the offensive line. How's he doing on that?
Hey, man, what was your name again? I'm sorry I missed it. Did anybody else catch it?
Johnny Caldwell.
Oh, Johnny Caldwell. What's up, JC? Hey, Johnny.
That's about 12 deep in the 6-pack.
12 deep
my kind of Sunday.
I love it.
This so price.
I love it. I think Johnny was a multi caller last week, man. He kept us on our toes.
Yeah,
We appreciate
yeah.
it, man.
Well, yeah, I drink a lot.
Well,
My day off.
Auburn
Hey,
fans,
I hear you on that.
Auburn fans tend to do that. Auburn will do that to you sometimes.
I
But
have a
it's,
little beef with Jhead and everybody sitting there talking about Auburn always loses to Georgia. That's only been during Kirby Smart's time. But I remember once Auburn used to beat the shit out of them. Come on, let's get with it. Y'all always sit there and say that we sit there and lose to Georgia and Alabama.
were we talking about recruiting?
I remember back in the day when you had the corner, you had Georgia and Alabama, and we used to beat the shit out of them.
Get
Start
fired up.
worse, guys.
Get fired up, Johnny Caldwell.
Hell, I'm just tired of losing to them.
Yeah.
I
I'm
want
with-
to come back to us.
I'm
Yeah.
with you, Johnny. I'm with you.
And I will say
I hear
that these money people, the people in charge, think that they've got the man in charge now that's going to be able to do it.
Well,
And
Like I told you before, if I can hit that lottery, I'll push the ball out to the side
Mm.
and have a damn good team.
recruiting wouldn't be an issue with you, would it, Johnny Caldwell?
Yeah, but I would sit there and donate to y'all, make y'all national,
Oh,
everything to do it. Y'all
Okay.
are awesome. Love you
Oh.
guys.
all right, Johnny Caldwell. We appreciate it, man. I want to get back to your question. Appreciate your call, Johnny. We appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir.
Slam
I'll
one.
call back you.
All right, slam one back for me.
Yes, sir.
He had a fantastic question, very relative question for this weekend. He asked Walker White, the four-star quarterback from Arkansas, who's committed to Auburn. How's he doing in recruiting the offensive line? Walker White came in for a visit Friday, and as Cole will tell you, his priority, number one, for Friday. Now, he talked to all the groups. He even said that. I talked to everybody, but my primary goal there was spending time with the offensive line. Cole, who were some of the guys that Walker White spent, and what were some of their reactions? I know you talked to a lot of them.
Yeah, you had Jamison Riggs is a guy that
Yeah.
Auburn really likes. Malachi Tolliver was there. Daniel Calhoun.
Mm-hmm.
That is a guy. If you watch us, and we've talked about him several times, we did not know if Auburn would be able to get in it with him. Not really didn't put too much into that, to be honest. Well, he shows up. He shows up at the scrimmage, and Walker White. He and Walker White hit it off, and now I think Auburn's somebody to watch here. I really do, as far as getting into the picture with the other top schools. Long way to go with him, but somebody to watch as one of the schools he may come back to, may officially visit, those things. And Walker White has a lot to do with it. He spent a lot of time with. I mean, he means business, is what I put in an article this weekend. He really does. You can tell, and he's very attentive to the recruits.
Cole, Malachi Tolliver, Daniel Calhoun, another guy you left out, Khalil House.
Yeah, Khalil House. Man, he does not look like a 3-star at all. He looks like, the real deal, and he won the MVP at the Under Armour camp. And I think Auburn likes him and starting to like him even more. I'd look out for an offer there personally. I think it's going to happen.
And I asked him, I said, man, what would it mean for Auburn to offer? And were you there, Cole, when we were talking to Khalil House?
Yeah.
It was almost as if he wanted to say, done deal. His body motion, his tone. Hey, is somebody in a kitchen somewhere with a freaking pound or something?
Yeah, man. I let me mute real quick.
Okay. sound like Jhead's in the back of Applebee's, man. It's closing.
Yeah, gotta go
At one point,
take care
I
of
thought I had
business
the
real
truck
quick.
backing up.
Khalil House. Yeah, I did too. Heavy machinery, fucking delivery vans in the back, dogs barking, the watchdogs out outside. Keith, I wanted to come to you on Daniel Calhoun.
Oh, sure.
He said the first thing he said was, "This was my first time," and I went back and listened. But I went to mark his visit to Auburn,
Mhm.
and I asked you this because you talked to him. I think you were following Daniel Calhoun with Auburn before any of us were.
Maybe.
But I don't know if that was his first time seeing the facilities or if that was his first visit to Auburn, because it said he's had 3 visits already.
Yeah, he's been there before. I think
Okay.
it must be first time with this staff, first time with these new facilities. I mean, it does feel like you're visiting a whole different program.
Yeah, I would imagine.
I mean,
So.
it does feel that way. So maybe that's kind of what his thinking was.
Yeah.
That's to get a little off point here. That's kind of one of those change the narrative recruitments.
Yes.
You can land him.
Oh,
There's about 8 to 10 guys out there, Jeffrey. I know you may have identified more. Cole, Jhead, Jack. You start landing guys like this, and all of a sudden, you can really the trajectory of the program changes. We just haven't seen many of those guys last few.
We talked.
You know,
We talked about this. I believe it was Friday on the recruiting show, but
yeah.
statement wins in recruiting that Auburn needs to have. Would you consider Daniel Calhoun a statement win for Auburn?
Yeah, because he probably. I mean, Jhead or Cole may want to correct me, but I think he could probably play guard too if he needed to. I mean, he could probably.
Mm-hmm.
He's really good. Well, first of all, he's really good. Everybody wants him. He's in Georgia, and you have a huge need at his position. So, and his primary position is tackle, I believe. So you put those 4 things. And if you do these checklists of what boxes do you check for a guy, that literally checks all of the oh my God, this is huge boxes.
Mm-hmm. We went through the numbers on the show the other day, if y'all remember, and there's maybe 2 guys in the top 30 in the state of Alabama that play offensive line.
Right. Yeah.
So the next state over, Georgia, he's the top guy or one of the top guys, and that just makes him that much bigger of a prospect for Auburn. And we were sitting there going, gosh, are they going to be able to get in this? I mean, he's put out a top 10. He's kind of narrowed it down without Auburn in the picture. Well, the visit says he's definitely considering it.
I thought it was very telling. We got through the interview with Daniel Calhoun, and then at the very end, he volunteered the information of, Walker's my dude. Like, he was all over me. He wants me to come here. And then later on, we talked to Walker, and he was like, yes, that Daniel Calhoun met Mr. David White, Walker's dad.
Yeah.
Fantastic. We got to meet him. Dude, these guys are – listen, Walker White and his dad – forget his dad for a minute because he's not going to be the one. But Cole and I both walked away from Walker White, which I think it was my first in-person interview with him. And then we kind of hung around and just off-the-cuff stuff there. And we both walked away from that going, that's the kind of guy you want leading your program.
Yeah.
That's exactly I'm going to make a cookie cutter for no, man. That dude is his own mold, and that's the one you want. I was very impressed. We're going to try to get him on inside the 20 this week, and so he can talk about his day a little bit more in detail. But Zach, are you
one more caller?
Okay, good stuff there, Johnny Caldwell.
4092. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hey, War Eagle, Jhead.
Jetta?
War Eagle, brother.
Okay.
Thank you, Jhead.
So I was going to ask, last year Cadillac took over and we saw this resurgence of energy, and everybody's kind of talked about how that exposure and everything's going to, even though he's been a terrific recruiter, maybe take him to that next, tier. And even though we have no running backs in this class so far, I feel like nobody's worried about getting running backs to Auburn. We're going to get that done. But have y'all seen anything to kind of, or talk to recruits, kind of validate that exposure and how much that meant to Cadillac being able to recruit this year?
A little bit. I've asked a few guys about that. Some didn't even know he took over as interim, and then some are like, "That was and that Hugh Freeze kept him and made him the associate head coach. Wow, what a big deal!" So it's kind of all over the map with that. As far as running backs go, they know Cadillac. They've known him for a while. If it's somebody important, if it's somebody he's had his eye on for a while, yes, that was a big deal to them, and that he got retained. Most of the guys I've talked to that are running backs have been those guys that said, yes, that's awesome.
From my perception of it, I think more than anything, where it helped Carnell was to be a more well-rounded recruiter. to be.
Mm-hmm.
He's always been a good recruiter with running backs, but now as an area recruiter, he's more comfortable talking to other guys kind of outside of that bubble, being more approachable, being more of a guy that could be potentially a mainline recruiter in a way that you've seen maybe Dale McGee or Larry Porter or guys like that that are beyond just recruiting their position, that can help out in a multitude of ways. So I think it's helped him kind of get into his bag a little bit and be a more diverse recruiter. But I don't know that it's necessarily helped him from an exposure standpoint per se, as far as name recognition.
More regional, would you say?
Yeah, definitely.
Let me add this, and then we'll keep going. But, these kids, just to be brutally, completely honest, some of them don't know who he was.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't remember him like we do. Okay. Cadillac, they don't know.
They weren't
who that
even
is.
born when he was in 04.
Right.
So you have that dynamic with some guys, but then it was such a big, statement when he was made the interim head coach, and then he won a game and did good things and sort of flipped the team around. He's back on the radar for a lot of these kids now. So more than anything, his presence, it helped his presence, and his presence with recruits. He may not have to be the guy that calls them 10 times a day to get their attention. Just who he is now getting their attention.
You know who knows him? People in Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. Down where I'm at, because he played for the Bucks, and their mommies and daddies remember. In Georgia, in Alabama, and Mississippi, it's mostly because their mommies and daddies remember him and worshiped him like a lot of people did. And also their high school coaches remember. Now, a lot of these high school coaches that are 50 now, think about how old they were when Cadillac Williams was tearing it up in the SEC. So they're then being able to tell kids. So it does mean something to kids, even though they never saw him play, weren't as lucky as we were. But yeah, I mean, nationally, I don't know. I think Jeffrey pointed out regionally, sure, but nationally, probably not as much. But that's okay. He's the running backs coach and the associate head coach at Auburn. And he's a successful young guy. He's still pretty young in coaching circles, and that's resonating with people. But it always did.
Sure.
You know why? Because he's such a likable, humble person with a great story to tell and a great product to sell himself. I mean, essentially, he's selling himself and Auburn about equally. And, those are two pretty good things to sell.
Zach, keep us going, big dog.
All right, we got two callers on the line. We're going to start with 5547. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
This is John from Florida.
What's up, John from Florida?
Hey, common thought was that TJ was going to transfer after he graduates. How would he be accepted if he was named the starter by the people who were on the team last year?
Personally, I think TJ has as much support as you're going to find. I mean, we've even seen players come out in the past week in support of him publicly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think he's an easy guy for teammates to pull for.
Yeah.
And man, he's not cocky. He's not arrogant. He's not selfish. And I don't know that I could say the same about everybody on that team. I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, believe it or not, man, as frustrating as he was last year to watch play, and great day, I was more critical of him than anybody. He's a pretty easy guy to pull for and be a teammate with.
I agree with that for sure.
And by and large, he's a good kid. I mean, I don't think there's anybody on the team that has any animosity towards him for stepping away when he did. I think he was also battling some mental health issues to a degree. I think there was some of that there. So what you want more than anything is for a kid to be able to take care of themselves, compete at the highest level, be a good teammate. And by all accounts, TJ's been a good teammate, minus needing to step away for personal reasons midway through the season.
Hell, I think we all did at that point.
I mean, right. Right. So none of that's being held against him. And look, if he's the best quarterback, then he'll play. I don't think there's any concern there. I think probably the bigger apprehension is, from the fan base's perspective, is TJ the best quarterback, or can we go get somebody else? That's kind of the question that's out there.
It may be two questions, Jhead. Is he the best guy, and is that good enough?
Right.
That's the
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
from what we've seen, no.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
nail
mean,
meat hammer. Yeah.
we have a sample size. Now, guys, some guys do take these gigantic leaps. I mean, it's
He
a
does
hard,
have new leadership and coaching too.
that's right. It's hard
Yes.
at that. It's hard at that position, I would say. But I mean, I take a guy like Robert Leff, who I thought was such a great story. Now, granted, he never got to play and then didn't do well. He just never played. And then when he finally had a chance, he stepped in at right tackle and, quite frankly, was incredibly productive his final year. So, you hope and you pray for, you want it to really work out for a guy, but that's a position where, I mean, gosh, I don't know how many times does a guy just turn on the switch and all of a sudden they go from just here to here.
Yeah.
Usually make incremental. Now, there's been cases of that. I get it. I mean, we all want to see it. Nobody wants to see it more than him and his teammates. But I don't know.
Probably and it's an Auburn situation. The only one that comes to mind is Chris Todd, and his was injury related, going from that year under Tony Franklin when everything was discombobulated. Obviously, it was either his elbow or his shoulder. I can't remember. Shoulder.
Yeah.
Had to be surgically repaired, and then he came on the next year underneath Gus's tutelage and was a completely different quarterback. So that's the only one that comes to mind. TJ's wasn't injury related per se. It's all been decision making and learning to make reads and the mental part of playing quarterback. Physically speaking, TJ throws a beautiful ball. He's got all the arm strength you want, good size. Yeah. It's not physical with TJ. It's completely mental.
I mean, I don't think he's had an issue with leadership either.
No, I agree.
I don't know about you guys, but I've heard. Sorry, Cole, finish.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I've heard from one former player that's pretty plugged in that he has heard that, just like what's being kind of said out there, the guy's had a pretty good spring. Like, he's the guy they're talking. He's getting the most buzz right now.
He was Friday afternoon, just shooting the stuff with people that were coming out of there. They made it sound like it wasn't even close. Like,
yeah.
With that, those scrimmages aren't. And Cole, I want you to jump in here. Those scrimmages aren't set up for Robbie because the quarterback's not live, right? They're just throwing the football. So when the quarterback's not live,
I'm sorry, it's perfect. The funniest thing I heard from Friday was,
"Oh, I know exactly what you're going to say."
Robbie was scrambling during the 7-on-7.
I was not going to go there.
It was a 7-on-7 portion. Skelly and
said he was evading the pass rush and the pass skeleton.
Oh my God!
I mean, you can't blame the kid.
But just standing in the pocket throwing the football, I think TJ is probably the most adept at doing that we've got on the roster right now. Robbie's not built to do that. I mean, he wants to get out and make plays off platform. That's his strong suit is adjusting on the fly. But Cole, I'm going to turn it to you. You obviously know this better than I do.
Well, I got a few opinions, like Jeffrey said, as guys were walking out, people we knew that got to see practice. And I heard good things about TJ, heard good things about Holden Gurner. Just here and there, made a good throw here and there, that kind of thing. The drops were the problem. Again, that seems to be a recurring thing.
That was the common denominator, wasn't it, Cole?
Yeah. Several people said that. So,
except for with Camden Brown.
That
was not an issue with Camden.
You hear that a lot. The receivers, but
go ahead.
My Siri's telling me to talk. So I was going to ask you guys, and Jeffrey, it's your show, but I was just thinking out loud here, just hypothetically speaking, and I think my Siri's about to say something again here. Hypothetically speaking, if all three guys were equal, these three, we're not talking about Hank Brown, and forget about transfer. Just what if they don't get a transfer? What if they're going to, but if they didn't, and all threes were equal, who would you go with? Who would you go with? You got the guy that played the most snaps. Well, I don't even know if that's TJ. The guy that's got the big arm, TJ. The guy that can bail you out of a lot of problems, which is Robbie. But then the guy that's the youngest guy that maybe might have, and Holden that might have.
Keith, this is an easy question for me to answer.
Does that make any sense?
Yes. It's
now,
an easy question.
It probably isn't going to get to this. One guy's going to separate. They're going to get a transfer guy, whatever. It's an interesting question.
I was going to say this earlier, but it's an easy question for me because, man, I have confidence in Hugh Freeze and Philip Montgomery that they're going to – that whoever they put out there, I have full confidence that he is the best guy. Like, I don't know that I could say that a year ago.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's nothing against those guys. I just didn't really know much about them or anything, but I know Hugh Freeze and I know his track record. I know Philip Montgomery and his track record. Hell, Kent Austin in his track record. I have full confidence that if they put Holden Geriner out there, no doubt in my mind, he's my pick. So for me, it would be whoever they choose. I have full confidence it's the right guy.
I think if you get stuck in this situation, and you call it stuck, whatever you want to call it, if you don't get a transfer quarterback for whatever reason, and we all think they will, but let's say they don't, and these are your three choices. I don't think the most talented guy is Robbie. I don't think anybody would argue with that. He's the most talented guy. He can make things happen with his legs, and he's got a decent arm. He's just got to control it. The guy who is the best decision maker is going to be the starter. And my evidence of decision making from TJ Finley and Robbie Ashford is not good. I have nothing from Holden Geriner. So maybe he's the best at that. He may not be the most talented, but they're going to start again. This is if they get caught in this situation. And I don't think they will. I think they will have somebody else. Gut feeling.
And also the unknown variable would be, no matter whether you get a transfer or not, is how does everybody else on offense look? How are you running the ball? How are your tackles blocking? Are they blocking better on one side than the other? And that side's the side that TJ doesn't run well to or does run well to. They're looking at so many variables. And Cole, you coached, and Jhead, you followed this for years. They're looking at variable after variable after variable. So it's not just what that guy's doing. It's what can he do within the confines of the people, the construction of around him.
It perfectly said, Keith, because the quarterback they're going to pick, not only is it decision-making, Cole, but do they accentuate the other skill sets, that they can put around them.
Yeah.
What I mean? If the best thing we do is throw the ball vertically, well, then what quarterback has that skill set? Is it Robbie? Is it TJ? Is it Holden? Who is that? If our running backs are going to be a strength to this team, which I believe they are you better suited to play a quarterback like Robbie that takes pressure off the running backs because you can't commit everybody downhill towards the running back? With TJ, you're not scaring anybody in a read zone situation. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's believing that TJ is going to hold the ball. So you're able to commit all the hats going downward towards your running back.
Yep.
So what does the rest of the team tailor-made to do? How can they build this offense to be successful? Along with decision-making, that's the quarterback they're going to pick.
Yep. All right, Zach, get us back to the phone line, man. Good stuff there, John. Kept us going for a while.
1370. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hey, gentlemen. Good evening. Lord George from Nashville.
LG.
LG.
I'm sorry, I don't know this guy. I haven't
You hear your voice?
heard this guy in a long time. Where you been, LG?
I know.
Suffering through basketball season.
Oh, well, completely understandable.
Yeah. Well, if you guys have talked about the quarterback thing enough, I kind of had a question on that, but
shoot it.
Direction otherwise.
No, man, shoot it. What you got?
So, right on. So, you hear decision making, I guess, is the prime thing for TJ, but I wonder if Freeze and the OC have a different way of doing an offense that makes it easier for somebody like TJ to make decision makers, or Robbie, or whoever it may be. So I didn't know if you guys could speak to that. If like a new retooled offensive line, maybe with the tight end situation and stuff like that, it's just like a little easier maybe for them to schooner the offense. I don't know.
No, I think Jhead, you kind of understand what he's. Now, see, I felt like last year the staff, they had a system. Yes. And they were trying to plug this quarterback in. It was that round peg and the freaking whatever. What is a square peg in a round hole? Yeah. And it just wouldn't go. And they were just getting out the mallet, banging it on there, and it still wouldn't go. I think Hugh Freeze is the guy who looks at his board and he sees that what is it, round peg? in the square.
Yes.
He sees the
Yeah.
square hole, and he
Yes.
gets his grinder out, and he does a little shimmying around the edges so it'll tap on in.
I would agree with that. And you
Make it
see
fit.
that, yeah, with the quarterbacks that he's had. I mean, look at the offense they ran with Bo Wallace and how they changed it to fit Chad Kelly's skill set. And then you look at Liberty and how they changed it to fit Malik. So he's tailored his offense to the quarterback that he's had to help them be successful. And not only do they tailor that system, what I like about the RPO system that Hugh Freeze has run in the past, what Philip Montgomery's done in the past, is they typically have schemed the first read open very well. I felt like last year we couldn't scheme the first read open to save our lives. It looked like every time the quarterback looked at read one, they got jammed or it was a bad route, bust route or something of that nature. And maybe that was some of the option routes that they had embedded. Our guys still weren't understanding conceptually what we wanted to do. But I feel like they'll be a little bit better, well coached, and I think they'll scheme guys open a little bit better than what the past staff did. And that's not me trying to take a shot at Harsin, but look what the tree he came from with Chris Peterson. He walked into a situation at Boise where those guys knew exactly what they want. They didn't change anything. It was the exact same offense they've been running for the 6 or 7 years prior underneath Chris Peterson. So they already knew exactly what to do. He came to Auburn where you were moving from a Gus Malzahn power smash mouth spread offense into what he wanted to do. And it just never took off. He never really got the players there, I think, to help his system be successful. And he wasn't able to adapt his system to the skill of the players that we actually had on the roster. Cole, I know you've got some thoughts on this as well, but to me, it's just the difference in coaching staff and philosophies to a degree.
I'll say it real quick because I know we got some callers, but this RPO style as compared to the style you saw with Harsin and the system, I think that's a good word for it.
Yeah.
System, no matter what. We have a system, doesn't matter what defenses do. And I mean, yes, you have different things every week, but we have an umbrella system for this.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the RPO changes almost, it will change weekly. Yeah. What they do one week will look different, and this is what they did at Liberty. This is what they did at Ole Miss. Okay, it's take what they give us. They see on film this linebacker likes to take the dive every single time. Okay, well the slant will be there behind it every time. I think it's just more of a common sense thing, and if you have it, good. Quarterbacks are supposed to have it.
The word that comes to mind is they put the defense in conflict a lot.
Yes, yeah,
you know what I mean?
You're always in conflict. You can't be right if the quarterback does his job.
Exactly.
Right. All right, Zach, keep us going, big dog. Good stuff, LG. Appreciate you, man.
7254. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Yes, this is Clayton Kennedy from Carrollton, Georgia.
Clayton.
What's up, buddy?
Like Clayton County?
How y'all doing?
Very good. Very good.
I'm calling in to ask 2 questions. Earlier in the show, I heard Keith say that Dylan, I believe his name is Dylan Calhoun,
Daniel,
would be a program changer along the offensive line. So and seeing if y'all can go through like every position, what would be a program changer? Like every position. And then the other question I was having is, what's one player that was on this roster last year that you could see take a massive leap forward coming back this year? Me personally, I think it's going to be Wesley Steiner, because I remember he lost his mom last year and stuff, and I know he had a tough year last year, but I think he's going to do great this year. But anyway, I'll shut up and listen. And War Eagles, y'all have a good night.
Appreciate you, Clayton, calling from Carrollton, Georgia, home of Caleb Odom.
There you go.
Tight end who was in Auburn on Friday. I tell you what, real quick, man, let's just all pool our names together. Quarterback, we've got Walker White. Running back, I'd probably say Daniel Hill's a program changer.
Yeah.
Him or Kevin Riley, one of the two.
Kevin Riley, too. I'd put him in that category.
Offensive lineman, Daniel Calhoun.
Yep.
Tight end, Caleb Odom, Landon Thomas.
Yes, those are 2, yeah.
Wide receiver, obviously Cam Coleman. Defensive lineman, Jeremiah Beeman.
There you go.
Edge, DeMarcus Riddick.
Justin Green.
I would say edge, Joseph Phillips or the kid.
I'm sorry, Joseph Phillips.
Definitely Joseph.
That's not, Jack was not Riddick. Who was it? Joe Phillips.
Joseph Phillips or Ross would be the two picks for me.
Jordan
that are
Ross,
realistic.
there you go.
Yeah.
Linebacker, Riddick.
Yeah.
Riddick.
DB, oh my gosh, KJ Bolden,
Yeah.
Jalen Crawford.
That's the one.
Jalen Crawford, Jalen Hayward, those guys. And we're probably leaving out a lot of names, but those are off the top of our heads, Clayton. As far as a player from last year making a big leap forward, I think we've hit this before.
I got
But
mine.
I don't even remember who I chose. It was a few weeks ago. So, Clayton, I will start with Jhead.
Jeffrey, yours is the same as what mine is going to be, and it's just throw him the damn ball, Camden Brown. If what I heard coming out of that scrimmage is realistic,
Yeah.
I mean, if everything continues to pay its way forward, it's Camden Brown. I think he had 150 receiving yards last year. I expect him to quadruple that moving into this season.
Maybe that'd be a good one. Camden Brown, Cole.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Nehemiah Pritchett. He keeps coming to my mind as somebody who needs a big bounce back, and he's gonna, this is it, make or break. And I've seen good things from him.
Zach, you got one?
Hey, I think last week I said Dylan Brooks.
Oh yeah, you sure did.
Yeah, that's
This
a good
year
one.
to step up, and it like Cole said, it's kind of a make or break year for him.
Yeah, I hear you. It's a perfect opportunity for him, right out in front of him. Keith, what about you, big dog?
Jalen Simpson. I think he's finally playing where he should have been, where he needs to be. And they're going to have a defensive line, I think, and maybe some edge guys. Brooks is going to really have to make a giant ascension, but I could see them adding a portal edge guy or doing some other things to generate pressure. And if they do that, that means a lot of balls are going to be floating in the air, and Jalen Simpson's as good a ball hawk as there is on the team. So I look for him to have a monster season.
Clayton, my pick was Camden Brown. I'll stick with. I expect him to have a big leap forward, but this is a guy that is new. He's a transfer, but I heard a lot of good things about the Nebraska defensive lineman. Is it Justin Rogers?
Yeah,
Kentucky.
Yes.
Yeah.
Justin Rogers.
What was that? What was his name?
Justin Rogers.
Oh yeah, I heard a lot of good things about him, and I can't remember who told me that. Maybe it was Braden Joyner or somebody. Was it? Were you there, Cole?
Yeah, well, it was a player because they're having trouble
Okay.
with him. I think it was Jeremiah Wright who actually told us that too.
Okay.
We had a roundtable with him the other day. He was like,
Zach,
he's like, that guy's beating everybody in double teams, but he hadn't come through me yet.
Zach in the front made a good point. Keldrick Falk seems to be the newcomer.
Yeah.
Stud.
Oh yeah, yeah. I heard some good things about Keldrick, which is good. I've known Keldrick for a good while. I've watched him play since he was in like 8th grade. At times, I thought maybe he needed to be a little bit more physical, but you know what? When you get put into a situation with a lot of physical dudes, it's sink or swim. And right now, it sounds like he is swimming.
You better shat or get off the pot.
That's correct.
Right now, he is squatting. All right, Jay. Zach, keep us going, big dog. Good stuff, Clayton.
9993. You're live. Who we talking to? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is Michael Holloway in Auburn, Alabama.
All right.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Michael, is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay, cool, Michael.
You guys, I wanted to tell you I just signed up for my second year of On3.
Yeah.
Boom. They suckered another one in.
Yeah.
Hope you're enjoying it, man.
No, you guys got me fired up on this recruiting trail. I want to tell you a quick story. I saw my first Auburn game in 1957 when I was 8 years old.
Wow.
Good
I
luck,
graduated from Auburn, and now my wife and I are retired here in Auburn. And I've seen the good and the bad and the ugly
I believe it.
for a lot of years. But I have not been as fired up about a coach until we hired Pat. Pat died. I'll tell you a quick story if I can.
Sure.
I had some friends and I were at the War Eagle Supper Club and came on, and back in the early 80s, came on Pat Dye was on TV where they were introducing him as the new Auburn coach. and one of the media asked him, said, "Coach, how long is it going to take you to beat Alabama?" And he gave a great answer. He said, 60 minutes was his answer. And when he said that, the table jumped up, threw his fist in the air, and said, "That's what I'm talking about." And the crowd just went crazy. So I think 5 SEC championships later, I think that hire turned out pretty good.
I think he was.
I think not a hire since that one.
I hear you
about Hugh Freeze.
Well, I think that was kind of. I think you're in the majority there, although I think technically it took Pat Dye 120.
Well, you're right. Everything I read about Pat Dye was that. Or go ahead. Was he still talking? I'm sorry.
Michael, good. Hey, I don't think so.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Everything I read about Pat Dye.
I want to tell.
Go ahead.
I want to tell Keith right quick. He's the big golfer. 40 years ago, I was a 4 handicapper, and now I can't break 100. So I put a tag on my golf bag. It says "bag of deplorables." Oh, I can't break 100. So I'm blaming it on the clubs.
Well, you know, you made an interesting point about Pat Dye. I never heard Pat Dye say, "I'm going to outsmart everybody, and that's why we're going to win." He understood.
That's right.
To win, you had to outwork everybody. You had to outwork everybody. And I think we're seeing that right now. I've not heard Hugh Freeze once say, "I'm going to outsmart Nick Saban, and I'm going to outsmart Kirby Smart, and I'm going to outsmart this guy and that guy." But to get the program back, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a culture where we're going to try our best to outwork other people. Now, they're working hard too at those other places. They don't get where they're at without busting their tails. But as a program, that's what he's saying. That's the message he's sending. He's up at 4. He's texting recruits. He's calling recruits. He's FaceTiming recruits. He's got multiple staffers.
Yeah.
They spend an hour a day texting kids before they even do anything else. Okay. And so they understand through him, through his vision, that to get where they want to be, it's going to take work and hard work. And essentially, that's what Pat Dye, from everything I've read, and I only got to know him later on in life. I was very lucky that he would come hang out with people like me and Jeffrey down in the athletic complex on Sunday mornings. Very, very blessed. But Jhead's pointing out that I quoted Arson with the thing that it wasn't all talk. It wasn't about my brain power. It was about my work ethic with Pat Dye. And I'm hearing the same things from Hugh Freeze and his whole staff.
Okay.
Well,
Hey, Keith.
Yep.
I got some proof of that, by the way. DJ Barber, Clay Chalkville linebacker, big Auburn target. Probably one of my favorite quotes a recruit has told me about Hugh Freeze so far. Said, "Coach Hugh Freeze calls me all the time, and what he says is, I want you to put a notepad on your bedside table, and every time I call you, you put a tally mark on it, and you let me know if another coach ever gets above that."
Who said that?
DJ Barber.
Hugh Freeze told him that?
He said Hugh Freeze tells him that when he calls him every time.
Is that right?
Yeah, and then you also, you know, there's been several guys that have told me similar things to that.
Well, now they got to hope that Kirby's not watching our show right now.
Well, he's been out there.
Yeah.
He's a big fan of Jhead's, from what I hear. But anyway,
Oh, I'm sure he is.
that what you just said, Cole, Jeffrey, that is exactly what we're talking about here. That's you know, this whole thing about outsmarting people and winning that way. Just, man, there's a lot of smart guys out there, man.
Mm-hmm.
Hard work never lets you down, right?
All right.
No.
That's right.
To your credit, when you talk about recruiting, not only is he recruiting prospects to Auburn to help raise the talent, on our roster, but I think he's recruiting behind the scenes with alumni, recruiting with, power brokers and boosters, fans. He's doing all the things to get Auburn aligned so that you kind of have that sovereignty in place, that everybody's reading on the same sheet of music. And that's what we truly haven't had. Probably you had it at times during Tuberville. You had it at times during Gene Chiswick's era, probably the first 2 years, and then the second 2, not so much. You had it at times during the early part of Gus's administration. But right now, what you have is a team that is completely, or a program that's completely aligned from start to finish. And it's because the head coach is pushing to get everybody in that direction. And I think that's what's unique about him. And what made Pat Dye so great is that he had the foresight to do that as well.
I was talking about Justin Rogers. Hey, Michael, good stuff, man. We appreciate that call and good story.
Yeah.
As Jhead pointed out, our supper club stories are a little bit different.
I've heard Jeffrey's. I haven't heard Jhead's.
I'll tell it off the air, Keith.
But back to Justin Rogers, man. What would y'all think of a defensive line of Justin Rogers, Jason Jones, and Marcus Harris?
Pretty good.
I think it's
Not-
a good
not
one.
Great.
I think it would be better if Jeffrey Emba could step up at end or somebody else that gives you a little
What
more
if he
pass
hasn't?
rush. If he hasn't, then you're going to have to play. You're going to have some versatility there, and you're going to have to play somebody else on that end spot.
Okay. Now, if those are my three down linemen,
Yes,
I'm assuming Marcus Harris is the Colby Wooden of the group. Then
Have to be.
you're bringing in your Jack,
Yeah.
for your pass rush.
yes,
Who would that be at this point?
probably
Keldrick Falk.
Keldrick Falk or Riley, if I had to guess.
I think Keldrick Falk's going to have a good shot there, guys. I really.
At the Jack position,
Yeah,
he's
I
a guy
think-
you can drop back into coverage.
He
I
probably
think so.
he probably wouldn't be used that way too much, honestly. I think they have a heavy Jack and a guy they would drop back personally.
Probably
Okay.
Cam Riley is the drop back guy, if I had to guess right now off the top of my head. I don't think Dylan Brooks has done enough in spring to give you the confidence that he can be that guy. So I think they're going to experiment with who they got on the roster. And to me, Cam Riley's a guy that plays a lot better in that kind of a situation as a bigger outside linebacker that can also give you some pass rush off the edge. Maybe even Austin Keys.
What
That
was
is
your
Jeffrey.
concern, Cole? Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. That is what, Jeffrey?
That is until they get a guy like Joe Phillips in the
Sure.
mix.
Okay.
Then he's,
Yeah.
he's your
Biding
everything.
their time until you can get that true Jack in, right?
What about
Right.
the Maryland? Any reports on the Maryland transfer? How he's fitting in?
That Nasili Kite.
Yes.
I don't think you're going to hear much about him, honestly. I think he's a quiet guy. I think he's not going to make a huge splash because he doesn't stand out as far as his size. Okay. But he's that guy that'll quietly, for a basketball reference, get you 10 rebounds a night and you never knew about it. Right.
Are the concerns coming from you two in that lineup that there's not enough speed off the edge?
Yes.
You're
'Cause-
okay with you're okay with Justin Rogers at your nose tackle, Jason Jones at your defensive tackle.
I just don't see Jason Jones as the kind of guy that can create pass rush from the interior from a three-tech position.
Really?
He's a big, powerful guy that I think is best played as a zero nose. Now, maybe I'm completely wrong, but I don't see him as a guy that's able to get vertical in the pass rush from an interior defensive line position, or at least I didn't see that last year. Now, maybe I'm way off, and I hope to God that I am because we need – I think it may play better with Jason on the nose and Justin Rogers slid out to that 3 or 4 eye. I think that gives you – I think he's got the versatility to maybe do that, but I don't see either one of those guys as pass rush specialists from the interior position.
Yeah, I think Marcus Harris is pretty solid when it comes to being a run defender, eating up his gap and holding his gap, things of that nature. My issue, though, is where Derek Hall leaves off, which is the edge, Jack. He's one of the best edge setters in this draft, guys. He's not, yes, he had 11 sacks or whatever he had, but his real calling card is setting the edge and holding the edge and making sure nobody gets outside of that. Well, now you might have a freshman there, and it really won't be his fault if he has trouble with that because he is a freshman and it's a hard job. So that worries me a lot with this.
Guys, it sounded like they're going to need to add a transfer. Jeffrey?
Oh, yeah.
And I think we've been saying that. I think that we said when they put this transfer class together, the one thing we didn't say, we said, look, Elijah McAllister is a great kid. He's a locker room kid. He's somebody you want on your team. And he's going to be able to help Keldrick early in the season get his footing. but I see him much more like the kid that transferred in from Western Kentucky this past year, as a guy that can make plays for you, but he's not an every down guy to me. He's more of a specialty to a degree as far as being able to set against the run, but he gives you very little, in my opinion, in the pass rush.
Now Rodgers is an NFL guy.
Oh yeah, he's an NFL guy. I just think he's a zero nose.
Yeah, he is. As far as we're looking at that lineup, he's the NFL guy to me, and he's might be a high round for NFL guy.
Damn, you like him that much, huh?
Yeah, he didn't get moved at Kentucky. I don't think he's going to at Auburn either. We'll see.
I'd agree.
Hold on, who the hell are we talking about?
Justin Rodgers.
Rodgers.
Why do I think he's from Nebraska?
Because he's originally from Michigan.
Yeah, that's exactly why. Hey, folks, we got about 10 more minutes with the open call line, so get in while you can. 701-779-9585. I know Johnny Caldwell's about what? We got about 4 left about this point.
Yeah, he had some bluegills on the line earlier. He finished us off.
Oh, this is a good question from JP, man. JP always coming strong. What recruit do we make the biggest move with this week? Cole?
I'll go with Caleb Odom.
Caleb Odom, okay.
Yeah.
The tight end from Georgia, 4-star guy.
From Clayton's neck of the woods.
Yeah, Carrollton, which is interesting. The Under Armour camp was in Carrollton. He did not attend it. I remember that being a topic of conversation, but he was, I think he loves Ben Egamawa. I think he loves Auburn. He called it his dream school. I know that's like the kiss of death, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But look, I mean, we hadn't heard much about him until he showed up, and then he gives it rave reviews. And again, Walker White in his ear. He's very excited that Auburn already has a guy like Walker White in the fold. Just a lot of things there that made me go,
Okay. I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I'm gonna take a Keith leap of faith here. I thought, and this was a lot of off the record stuff, a lot of on the record stuff, but I really think Auburn made a big move for Jalen Hayward. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not even close to thinking Auburn can flip him. But I think Keith is laughing at me.
No, I'm laughing at what you just said. That's all.
But I really think him and his dad really like Zach Etheridge. They really like. I think they're very interested. Again, the thought of flipping him, as far as me predicting a flip, that's the first I've even thought of it.
Yeah.
Something about that area that he's from, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Rockledge, Cocoa Beach, Titusville, Melbourne. These kids love Auburn. Remember, they were in it with the Nixon, the receiver that ended up going to Ole Miss a few years ago. They were heavily, and he was from Vieira. That's the same area. O.C. Brothers, Ladarius Tennyson. Who's the other guy? Jamel Dean. And there was a big offensive lineman that went to Florida, Jawan Taylor. Well, Auburn was very much in it with him. He went to, in fact, if Auburn would have offered a little earlier, probably would have got him. He went to Florida. Now he's the second highest paid offensive tackle in the NFL. But they've kind of got some cred in that area. I don't know. Maybe that's not it. Maybe it's whatever. For whatever reason, they do well there, and their DB recruiting is in a great place right now. So, Jeffrey, you've got more intel on that one than me, but I wouldn't discount what you just said at all.
For me, it's go ahead, Jeffrey. I'm sorry.
Well, quick add on. We heard a lot of kids say possibly coming back for an official visit, probably going to come back for an official visit. Dude was like, I'm here. I'm in. I'll be back.
And can I say something funny about him? He visited Florida a couple weekends ago.
Oh, yeah.
And he did not want it reported that he was there. And in fact, somebody saw him at a Gator practice. It was an open media practice. And they saw him. And so they texted him and they said, hey, is that you at Florida right now? And he said, no, absolutely not. I'm not there. Well, like an hour later, they see him leaving and he puts the hoodie on and screen. So he didn't want anybody to know he was there. But at Auburn, he retweeting stuff with Auburn. I mean, I don't know what that means, but it's weird. It's different. So
can I throw one more in there too?
Sure.
Jordan Ross.
Yeah.
I have been very openly skeptical about him, and I still am to an extent. Okay. I think it's going to be tough to get him. But
I agree.
We were not expecting him to be there the other day, and he was. And I had just thought about him maybe the day before, going, man, they need to get him there. Like, I was looking through some names, and I was like, I need to get him there quick because it's moving fast with him. So they did. Maybe they felt the same way I did. They felt a little pressure there. Got to get him here. Got to let him know, hey, whatever happened with the last staff, we're good. We're good here. Don't worry about it. And I think he does feel that way now. I got that impression.
There's several other guys. I mean, hell, Daniel Calhoun, Colton Heinrich. Just about everybody there I thought Auburn made a pretty good move with. This is a great question from D. What's the potential ceiling of this class? What's the highest you see this class finishing? What's the lowest, worst case? I would say 8 to 15.
Good range.
8 being the floor. I mean the ceiling, and 15 being the floor. Yep. Worst case.
I gave 10 to 12 the other day was the landing spot. I'll stick with that. That feels right to me right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 7 to 15. Right, same as you, Jeffrey. Basically, 7 to 15.
I agree with Keith. That was the exact range I was about to give, is 7 to 15, and I think 7 would coincide with the highest ranked first-year class of any Auburn head coach, because I think that was Chiswick's first year when they reeled off 3 5-stars and landed Cam Newton, Michael Dyer, and Sean Coleman. I think those are the 3 5-stars that headlined that class.
Let me just say, if they're 12, 13, 14, normally like under Gus, I would think, that wasn't a very good class for Gus, but here's why it would be different this time, because they got their number 1 QB target. And he's literally their number 1 QB target. So even if you're looking for class rank and then difference makers, potential difference makers, we don't know who's really going to do it today, but there's one right there, your quarterback. You got the one guy you wanted, and that sort of in your own eyes elevates your class, even if you're only 13th or 14th. But I think it's going to be a top 10 class. Right?
Yeah. They also have 12 portal additions and probably going to add 3 or 4, maybe 5 more, maybe more than that. But that, as far as
no, they're saying for next year though, Cole.
Right. As far as numbers go.
Oh, okay.
With positions.
And you made a point, Keith. I would much rather take a class ranked 12th and we hit all of our needs and we get offensive line situated and you get your number 1 quarterback, as opposed to a Gus 7 where you're juking the stats and you're taking 10 receivers that you didn't need in the first place.
True.
And you're negating another position. So yes, 12 is acceptable contingent on how it lays out, right? I think that meeting your needs is the bigger deal to me than where you're positionally ranked come National Signing Day.
Yeah. Agreed.
Our last caller here.
Okay.
Tonight. 4148. You're live. Who we talking to? Where you calling from?
Shazam! Guys, Gomer, how are you?
Gomer come home?
Gomer.
Hey, Steve, if you win this damn NCAA tournament, can I have the free subscription? Because you don't need it.
If I win, but trust me, I'm not winning jack. You know what? Okay.
You're closer than I am. I'm way at the bottom.
Where am I? I know.
You can get my subscription. You get my subscription if you win. This guy's got to have a swollen wrist as much as he typed and put into the game thread yesterday. I got to give him a lot of credit. Are you icing your wrist today? I mean, that was incredible last night.
Oh my, both of them.
Did you punch any walls in the second half?
Yeah, my bracket was busted, in the first hour of the tournament. It's horrible.
Hey, who had Arizona winning it all?
Not me, brother, not me.
The champ. I had him as the champ.
Me too.
Gonzaga winning it all. I'm still safe there.
I had Baylor winning it all, so I'm still good. I had Baylor knocking off Alabama.
I feel like a traitor. I had Houston winning it. I feel like a traitor. I picked them over Auburn.
It's going to be hard for Houston. Well, look, it's going to be hard for Houston.
I went with my heart the whole way. I had Auburn go to the Final Four and Alabama.
Oh, brother, don't do it to you. I had them out in the round of 32. Don't do yourself that way.
It's going to be hard for any true blue Auburn fan to win anything because none of them picked Alabama to get to the Final Four.
Oh, no. Like I said, I picked Baylor to knock them off in the Elite Eight. You know what I mean? So doubt that holds serve.
Tell me what you guys think about running back right now, because it seems with Fat kind of falling off right now, and I don't know what was going on with his health situation, but you know, who's at the top of your board with running back right now?
Gomer, I addressed this a little bit on the corner today. Man, I don't know where all that's coming from on Fat Burnett. Jamarian Burnett from Andalusia, the 4-star running back.
I don't. It just seems like innuendo. I don't know what's going on with him.
Well, I think people are looking for a reason of why he hasn't committed yet, and this was the one that started floating, and people were just grabbing it out of there, going, "Yeah, this is going to be it. This is right." I checked on it the other night, man. He's still a top target for Auburn, and I think the only thing keeping him from committing is he's just not ready to commit.
Mm-hmm.
At least you know, from the people that I spoke to that know a lot more about it than any of us, they want a big bruiser like him. Zach likes Jamarian Burnett. They want a big bruiser like him. They think he's old school guy, a guy that if you still had the I formation, you're giving it to him 25, 30 carries a game. You don't have to do that anymore. But they like him. They like the features that he brings into that backfield. But they also want a second guy that's got a little bit more wiggle. That's more of a more versatile, I guess.
What an incredible week that we've had with recruiting. Bringing guys in second week of spring practice. Do you think we've made any headway with any of those guys that came in this week?
Yeah. I think the most headway
as far as committing soon.
I will say this. We talked about Friday. Friday was a little bit, I mean, there were a lot of guys there, but there weren't any really big jumps. I mean, we talked about some guys earlier in the show, not too long ago, actually. But I think, Cole, if you look back over the past week, I think the guy Auburn made the biggest jump with was the Parkview cornerback.
Oh, yeah. That's
Jalen Crawford. Yeah.
Jalen Crawford
and Antonio White. See what happens with him.
Antonio White,
DB target, who has not been offered, he says.
Gomer, of all the kids that we covered and knew that were visiting Auburn just this week alone, this past week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, of that group, which there were over 50, more than 50, I would say if I were going to, if somebody said you have to put in a prediction for one of the 50 guys that visited this past week, and listen, 50 guys were here, but only about 20 of them were legit targets. But still, 20 freaking targets in a 3-day practice span is pretty good. Jalen Crawford would be my man.
I mean, I've never seen anything like that. But, hey, guys, appreciate all you guys do, and just can't thank you enough.
Appreciate you, Gomer. Appreciate you being part of the site, man, and all the contributions you give to the site. Fantastic, man. And, hey, follow along with Michael, Gomer, Auburn Live on 3. Man, y'all go get signed up. We are covering this recruiting class from floor to ceiling.
We got one more caller. Do you want to take
get them in? Get them in.
2393. You're live. Who you talking to? Where are you calling from?
Hey, how you doing, man? My name is my nickname is Cartoon.
Cartoon?
And I'm calling from Birmingham, Alabama.
What part of Birmingham, Cartoon?
West End.
No way.
Okay. Peanut Whitehead territory.
Peanut Whitehead. I think Quentin Reese.
Yes.
That's where I don't live in West End. I'm just in West End right now.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I live in an area called Bush Hill.
Is that North Birmingham?
It's right next to Inslee.
Yeah.
Okay.
Man, I'm from Forestdale, big dog. I know exactly where those places are.
Oh shoot! I mean, that's where I pay my phone bill at Forestdale at the Metro.
There you go.
Yeah, man. I went to Minor, West End, Inslee.
Right. I got a question. I got two. The Auburn Tigers that we have right now, are they eligible to win 8 games this year? And will Hugh Freeze get us to a national title within 3 years.
Oh, that's good stuff, Cartoon. I mean, okay. So, is Auburn capable of winning 8 games this year? I think that was our ceiling for this team, right? Maybe 9.
Yeah, for me, it's 8 if you count the bowl game. I think that's doable.
Okay.
I got us with 7, 8 with a bowl game.
I think that's what me and you both, or maybe I
Yeah.
said 8 with a possibility of. But Toon, I'm gonna tell you, 8 wins. And listen, we don't know what this team's going to look like. We really don't, right? I mean, we don't even know who the quarterback's going to be. We don't even know if the quarterback's on the roster right now.
Yeah.
That's going to be a big deal. But Keith, you I think you said 6 or 7 wins, didn't you?
We don't know. First of all, we don't know what this team's going to be. We don't know what the teams they're going to play are going to be, right? We don't know. There's a lot of things we don't know. We also don't know what additions Auburn's going to make post-spring in the transfer portal. So right now, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, well, hell, they won 5 games last year?
Right.
I think they'll be better in certain areas, you know? So that gets me to in the 6-7 region, maybe 6.5 to 7 would be the number. Couple good more portal additions, maybe. And obviously if you hit a home run, look, if one of these quarterbacks just skyrockets in the next few weeks, or you do great in the portal with the quarterback position, then all of a sudden 8 becomes realistic and 9 becomes a possibility. But again, it's all kind of,
guesswork.
You're guessing because you also some of the teams you're thinking, when we're looking at the schedule, we're as people who follow Auburn as fans of Auburn, we know what Auburn is to a certain extent, but with other teams, we're looking at the name.
Right.
We're not really following South Carolina closely.
Whether or not we respect South Carolina,
exactly.
whether how much we respect our Arkansas, Mississippi State.
I think like an 8-5 season in year 1 would be
monumental.
I would complain about that.
I think it'd be huge.
Look, Hugh Freeze was on the inside the 20 with Jeffrey and myself, and he said, "Look, this isn't going to be this miracle worked like this. I mean, Jeannie isn't going to blink her eyes, and all of a sudden they're going to win 12 games. There's real. You fired the last guys because of where you're at, not because of their play calls. We always think it's this guy. If they just threw to the tight end more, they'd never get fired. No, you're getting fired because you didn't get the players that you need to then call the right plays. Really,
right.
I mean, and so there was some real damage to the roster the last few years. Now they've done a job immediately turning it in the right direction, but it is only just turning in the right direction. The turn is complete.
Yeah, and to me, your 2 biggest losses off this past year's team are Derek Hall and Kobe Wooden, and I don't even think it's close.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we've replaced that production just yet with players at those positions.
Well,
so for you to raise your win total, you got to figure out a way to mitigate those losses.
But I will say this: they look like they're paying attention to the little things. So you're going to have, we think, a very good returning punter, a very good young returning kicker with a enormous leg. I think my series is about to go off again here. And 3, now you've added this Brian Battie guy, who, by the way, I've heard that he's turned some heads out there at practice. What can he do in special teams? So the hidden yardage of special teams, those are the kinds of things that might help you steal a game here or there too. So I like what they're doing, but we don't really know.
I agree. And Toon wanted to know, Natty champion. Listen, we don't know if they're going to win, but does Hugh Freeze in 3 years? I think that was 3 years. Was that what Cartoon said? 3 years.
Yeah.
So is Auburn a national contender in 3 years?
SEC champion, yes. Maybe national contender.
In 3 years,
I can see us competing in the SEC championship game in 3 years. I can see that.
2025 Auburn.
Yeah, because
10 wins.
Right, and you've also got Oklahoma and Texas coming in. You're going to reshuffle how you position who's going to be in the SEC championship game. I would say on the outskirts, maybe even playoff, because you're getting 12 teams in come 2025. So let's look at it like that. Are you in the playoff? I think there's a very high possibility that you're in the playoff in 3 years.
9-3 may get you in the playoff.
Right. I think that's a realistic possibility. Are we a national champion? I think there's so much transition that has to happen on that roster for that to happen.
Okay, what about 5 years?
I can see us being in the hunt for sure.
I think Hugh Freeze in Auburn in 2025 in 3 years is on the cusp. Like you said, Jhead, I think years 4 and 5 when he's got his quarterback Walker White going into his junior year, and he's got these guys. This 2024 class are going juniors. Their third year, 23. Is that right? 2024. Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah, there you go.
No, that would be right. 24, they'd be freshmen. 25, they'd be sophomores. So it's 26. So maybe the fourth year. Yeah. I think from there on, and that's just the beginning to me. That's when you get up there, and then you're competing every year for that playoff spot. You're winning one. You're trying to. So I think from there on, after year 4, Auburn is a national contender year in and year out.
Well, you hope by year 4, 5, 6 that 8 and 5 is the
rebuild. No good.
The rebuild year that, hey guys, it's coming. Just brace yourself. You can live with that if that's your rebuild year, right? That's your floor.
Wouldn't it be nice for Auburn to get to the point where they're like Alabama and Georgia, where Alabama's rebuild was a 2-loss season last year?
Yeah, they had that 1 3-loss season back in 2010, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they lost to South Carolina, us, and LSU that year, I think.
Yes. Alabama Garcia got drunk at halftime and lit him up in the second half.
Alabama lost 2 games last year, and they're like, it's time for Saban to step down. Hey, he's getting older. It's time for him to go.
Well, look, over the next 10 years, there's going to be a couple or 3 programs, let's say, that take that jump forward.
Tennessee,
back in
maybe.
2010, did we know Clemson was going to turn into Clemson?
No.
They were getting their asses whipped by schools like Auburn on the recruiting trail. And so there's going to be schools that make these jumps. I would think USC is probably headed back in that direction. They don't have much competition west of the Rockies, right? So could Texas be a school that finally makes that? Yeah, we don't know.
No.
I'm saying we don't know. There's going to be somebody. There's going to be a couple schools. You're always going to have your Ohio States, and there's always going to be the main ones. So it's got to be somebody.
Yeah.
Do you remember when Clemson was a nobody and everybody thought Auburn was going to just beat the shit out of them? Remember that? I think, and then that was kind of like their first game of the ascension.
Well, we started. We were all of us obviously follow recruiting, so we see the building of a team from the ground up. And Clemson always had these great skill guys, but what made the difference for them was all of a sudden they started landing some elite offensive and defensive linemen. That really changed the game.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we think of Sammy Watkins, but what about Dexter Lawrence? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We think about C.J. Spiller, but they didn't win anything with him. What changed it was that offensive line that finally became serviceable. They never had a great offensive line, but it got better. But
who was the pass rush specialist they picked up that was an Auburn legacy that really kind of changed it for them? God, he played for the Atlanta Falcons for several years.
Beasley? Was that
Victor
his last name?
Beasley.
Yes, Victor Beasley.
Yeah, but somebody's going to be that next team. They're all jockeying for it, and some schools are going to drop off. Some are going to fall by the wayside. Is FSU making that climb again? Well, you wouldn't think so, but they're in the ACC, and that gives you about a 2-game boost right there, right?
Yeah.
So then you get a little momentum, and I think Mike Norvell had a saying that's pretty maybe applicable to Auburn here. First, you lose games big, then you lose games close, then you win games close, then you win games big. And that's Kirby Smart and Nick Saban right there. They were not killing it their first years, were they, guys? Not at all.
No.
Good stuff, Toon. We appreciate that call, man. That was really good questions. We'll be expecting you back, man. Let's hit a little lightning round before we end it, folks. All right, fellas. Jason Rose wants to know who are the possible quarterback portal guys that Freeze would be interested in. Hell, if I knew that, dude, I would be headed to Vegas.
Yes, sir.
But I mean, everybody knows Grayson McCall tried to transfer to Auburn. I don't know if they knew that part, but that was his plan and was ineligible. He went back to Coastal Carolina. I don't know if it's wishful thinking. People think that maybe he can get grades. I don't know, but I that was the only person that we know that was in the portal and that's no longer in the portal that could become available. That's the only guy I know, Jason. Chris Arnold, who will be returning next year in basketball? Jhead, I think you hit on this today on the corner Auburn Live's message board. Who will be returning? We really don't know that for a fact. Who do you see returning?
So as of now, the way I see it is that you're going to have Wendell, Jalen, Al, and Janai make a decision about whether or not they're going to turn pro and whether or not they're going to come back. I think Al's gone, if I'm being completely honest. I think he was almost gone last year. And had he played better down the stretch, I think he would have been. So I think he's going to turn pro. Wendell's the only other one I can see potentially turning pro, but just because he thinks, hey, my stock can't get any higher. I can't do anything in the college game to change. Look, I am what I am. I'm vertically challenged. I'm a very quick guard, but it is what it is. So I could see those two potentially moving on. And then if you get Jalen back and you get Johnny back, what do guys like, Dylan Caldwell, Simo, Trayor, what do they do? So I think there's some decisions to be made. At the end of the day, Stretch is probably gone. You get a scholarship back from the NCAA sanctions that you've had, so you're probably shopping in the portal with 4 to 5 spots would be my guess.
I think so too. I think there's about 7 guys coming back. You're adding Aiden Holloway to 8. And you've got 13 available, so you've got 4 to 5. You probably want to leave one open, but I can see 4 transfers coming soon.
Yep.
Blake Robinson, OBR or Blake R. Any intel on the quarterbacks from the scrimmage as far as them playing well enough to not need a portal quarterback? No.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I don't care what those quarterbacks do during the spring. Hugh Freeze is going to get him at least one quarterback post scrimmage. I think that would be the best case scenario, right? Those 3 guys were just so good. He was like, "No, man, I'm good."
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything remotely close to that. I don't expect to.
No, that's not the case.
D always got the good questions. Not looking for names, but how many silent commitments do you guys believe Auburn has? I don't think any right now.
Okay.
Now, hold on. Silent commitments to me is, hey, coach, I'm coming. I'm going to commit April 14th.
Maybe not to change your question around there, D, but maybe guys who might want in.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple. Christian Peterson comes to mind, who was on campus Friday.
They love him.
And he loves Auburn. And he probably would, like we've said 100 times, the DB board, we just don't know. So he's on that board somewhere. Where he stands is not clear, but if he wanted in right now, I think he would jump on it. That's mine.
He is a tailor-made nickel for that system too. Good Lord,
he's a good player. Good player.
Yeah. Jeff Imba, Cam wants to know about Jeffrey Imba. I will say this, man. I really feel like the reason I brought up the defensive line earlier, I think Jason Jones, believe it or not, at defensive tackle. Remember Jhead, he played with one arm last year.
That's true.
Jason Jones at defensive tackle, Justin Rogers at nose tackle, Marcus Harris at the big end, and Elijah McAllister is who I've got at the other side.
Yeah.
I feel like Imba, I have heard that Imba is doing much better. I still don't think he's there yet. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
But I mean, hell, they've been 6 practices?
Yeah. I mean, and with a whole fall to go.
JP, we can do this collaboration here. Our top 5 most wanted recruits, we would probably have a lot of crossover here. I'll throw out some guys, but we definitely know would be on all of our lists. Cam Coleman, DeMarcus Riddick, Joseph Phillips, Daniel Calhoun, and
Beeman.
Defensive line, Jeremiah Beeman. There you go.
Yeah, Beeman. Yeah.
I think those are consensus wants from this group. OWD, Wesley Denny wants to know Jalen Hayward would be a statement win. Absolutely love. I'm going to be using that term a lot, man, because this staff needs statement wins in this class. What's your guys' thoughts on the Arizona back Christian Clark getting an offer? He got an offer earlier this week and then quickly, and I don't know if they knew this was coming, so they wanted to offer him before he got to campus, but Christian Clark from Arizona visited Auburn today, Sunday, and is staying the night, I do believe, and we hope to talk to him after he leaves. But I don't know. I really feel like both of Auburn's running backs will come from their what do you call it, Keith? Footprint.
Yeah. Well, I know Arizona State leads for this young guy in the on-3 recruiting prediction machine. Now it's early in his recruitment. There's the lure playing in the SEC, but it's also hard to get a guy that far away sometimes. And also Arizona State head coach Kenny Dillingham, guy we know well, and Jeffrey and I know him really well. He hired a staff full of guys with ties to Phoenix. So if Arizona State pushes on this guy, that may be hard. Who knows? But what we don't know is, there's a lot of kids out west that have ties to the South.
Sure.
They do. Every time we talk to a kid, oh, yeah, my grandmother lives in Canton, Georgia. What? And that's why a lot of them are able to make these trips. But don't know enough about that one yet.
Yeah.
Don't know enough about that one
I didn't even know of him until earlier this week.
Yeah.
And
Same here.
from everything we've heard, you got to think they're going to get one of Riley, Hill, or Fat Burnett, and then maybe as that second back, Robert Royal III or Brandon Hood or somebody of that nature that's got a little more shape to them, a little bit more diverse skill set.
Very good names dropping there, Jhead. My World of Sports, who is a fantastic listener, watcher. This dude brings it all, man. He's a big fan of the show. Could KJ Bolden, he is the 5-star safety, the number 3 overall recruit in the country, the number 1 safety in the country, the number 1 overall recruit in Georgia. He was at Auburn on Monday, I do believe, or was it Wednesday? No, it was Friday.
Friday.
No, it was Thursday.
Thursday into Friday.
Came up to Friday. Could he be moved to wide receiver if we strike out on Cam Coleman and others if we lock down the number 2 safety also? I don't think so. I think Auburn is all in on this kid being a safety. I have not heard one thing about – now, he could play wide receiver from what I've heard.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, people are giving him that opportunity, I think.
He's like Travis Hunter to me. He is so gifted athletically. He can do anything that he wants to do. But you're right. I think he is a number 1 safety on the board, dream, pick up in this class.
Yeah.
I mean, he deserves every bit of his 5-star billing. When you put on his highlights or you watch him in person, you understand why he's ranked where he's ranked. That's for sure.
Remember what I said a minute ago? But first you lose big, then close, then you win close, then you win big. Same in recruiting.
I hear you.
So now you're recruiting against the big boys. So Georgia's favored for him. Ohio State's kind of the other team that's seen as being the top 2. But he says that Auburn's probably getting an official visit, right? So now you were losing big.
Mm-hmm.
Start taking steps. And first step is to then get official visits from the truly elite guys again. Not just 1 or 2, a bunch of them. Then you start getting some of them. Then you start getting a lot of them. If it goes as planned, we'll see.
Ideally.
He's going to be a tough kid, but they're fighting hard. And he loved it there last week. So
you get one of KJ Bolden and Jalen Hayward.
Oh, yeah.
Just that's both of those guys' statement.
Well, and if he's the Georgia lean that Georgia people seem to think, maybe Jalen Hayward's thinking, well, I mean, what does that mean for me? I mean, the Georgia, so
sure.
There's always domino effects here. So,
that was my question for you guys, because if Bolden commits, wouldn't they have Bolden, Woodyard, and Hayward, which are the top 3 safety commits all in the same class?
Yeah.
Damn, are you serious?
Yeah.
Bro, I don't put anything past Kirby being able to sell.
I don't either, man.
Will Muschamp recruit DBs like he's been known to do.
Yeah, dude. Look,
remember what he did at Auburn, right?
They can sell with the best of them. I don't. If they want all 3, they'll be able to convince all 3 if they want in. But here's the question. You know what I mean? If does one of them want to do something different? That's the thing to me. Does one of them want to create their own legacy and do something different, similar to the way Travis was able to connect with Owen Papo? Can Zach connect with one of those guys and say, look, do you want to be another guy at Georgia, or do you want to create your own legacy at Auburn?
Do you want to be the guy at Auburn?
Do you want to be the guy? And is that a selling point to them? And to me, that's the difference in this class.
Those are the ones you're going to have to find.
That's
been
a big selling point with 2 guys have said that exactly. Those words exactly, Jhead. Perry Thompson and DeMarcus Riddick.
Alabama and Georgia commitments.
There you go.
Let's see. Good stuff there in my world. Eric May always got some good stuff. Does Fat have a spring visit scheduled? Dude, this guy has I haven't listen. They're laughing because this dude is so unpredictable and it's very difficult to cover his recruitment, Eric.
And I know he's visiting FSU, Jeffrey.
Okay.
Also, other schools, I don't know how Auburn feels, seem to think that him and Landon Meat Marshall, the defensive lineman, want to play together. Now, package deals fall through 99% of the time, but just another dynamic to this recruitment, you know. And I think FSU's involved with them.
Seems like Penn State is as well.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, John McClain. Why will this 3-quarter work where Mason's 3-quarter won't?
The 3-4, the defense.
Oh.
That's a question for Cole.
Well, I mean, it's not really a 3-4.
Or Jhead.
It's a multiple defense.
Yeah.
3-4 is just one of the things he wants to do. Again, I don't really go by that anymore. It's just kind of the old way. They're going to have 5 DBs on the field. They're going to have them. You cannot play football today without 5 defensive backs on the field. Try it.
It's a 4-2. Yeah, it's a 4-2-5 or a 3-3-5. It's one of the two now. Is the way it is.
Just all you need to care about is the front, okay? And your jack is the guy that's basically the edge in every other defense. Okay, it's just a different name for it, and they may do a couple of different things here and there. So 4-man front or 3-man front with a nose guard, and then those are the main things there. And he's going to do that.
I do think the major difference is Ron Roberts' history or tradition to this point is with his defenses have been extremely aggressive, whereas Mason has been a little bit more bend but don't break and kind of slowly trying to kind of like a boa constrictor, kind of trying to choke you out to a degree when you get into the red zone. I think Ron Roberts is trying to create negative plays on every down.
Yeah.
That's their deal. And want to bring blitzes in a variety of different situations. So I think you'll be a little bit more exotic from that standpoint and a little more aggressive.
Yeah.
But as Cole said, it's a multi-front defense. It's going to be in a 3 or a 4 contingent on what the jack linebacker does.
Right.
Okay. D wants to know what's our wish list for every position. I'm guessing in recruiting. I think we hit this earlier. Running back, I think y'all like Daniel Hill. Who was the kid from Tuscaloosa? Kevin Riley.
Kevin Riley.
Yes.
Choice.
Kevin Riley. Y'all love him, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Kevin Riley would be the wish list. Running back, wide receivers, Cam Coleman. Tight end would be Caleb Odom, maybe Landon Thomas. Martavius Collins, to a certain extent, he's a different guy there. Daniel Calhoun would be an option there on the offensive line.
Yep.
Defensive line, Jeremiah Beeman. Jack linebacker would be Joe Phillips. DeMarcus Riddick at linebacker. KJ Bolden, Jalen Hayward, or some DBs. Jalen Crawford would be a cornerback or a nickelback. Those are some of your DB wish list. The real question James Barnett wants to know is, do we trust Freeze in this offensive staff? I alluded to this earlier. If we do, does it matter who quarterback one is? That's exact. Hey, James, that's when Keith's question earlier. That was my answer to you. Now, I do have I have faith in him and Philip Montgomery and Kent Austin. That whoever they put out there. See, like last year. Listen, at the time, I don't think we knew about Calzada's shoulder, right?
Yeah.
But TJ Finley gets named the starter, and I'm like, I don't know about that, big dog. Because I didn't, but I trust this staff. Does anybody not, if they put Holden Gerner out there, do you not go, hey, man, I trust these guys to believe that this is the best guy they've got?
At the beginning of the season, absolutely. Because to this point, Hugh Freeze has bought himself some grace, time, faith with his recruiting efforts and everything he's done off the field, right? And the fact that he's got a pedigree in this league and he's put together successful offenses. Now, by the end of the season, if our offensive production mirrors what we were, what we were seeing, at the front end of this past year, then, maybe not so much. But I think right now, on the onset of the season, you have to think this coaching staff is looking through this with a new set of eyes, and they're making their own evaluation of who the best quarterback is.
Alan Brooks, if we just miss out on a bowl game this year, is it considered a failure? If we miss out on a bowl game, that means 5 wins. Yes. Does anybody think a season of 5 wins is?
If you have a top 5 recruiting class, then maybe not. All right, I can deal with 5 wins if that happens.
Oh,
really? Like the injury bug hits, like if we lose like 2 or 3 quarterbacks, or like our bunch of starters get hurt, maybe toward the end of the season.
I don't know, man. I expect more from this staff.
I think momentum's funny, and if you start getting some traction with recruiting, then just it's a funny thing how that works, and then maybe you see some more wins. Staff gets a little more confident, things of that nature.
Let me put it this way: I think Brian Harsin with this team could win 5 games. I think Brian Harsin with this team could win 6 games.
Holy shit!
So my expectations for Hugh Freeze's staff are a little bit more. I would think a 5-win season for this staff is a. I don't know if it's a failure, because that's a failure. 6 at the minimum. I don't have time for losing seasons. Not with the way that they've already done in the portal and what I expect them to do post May. Post spring. I really think 5 is a failure, and I don't expect that. D. Since drops are constantly a problem, and we've heard that they are, how many wide receivers do you think Hugh goes out and gets in the second window? At least one, right? He's already said that, I believe. We wanted one more wide receiver. We're going to go get one, or we want to in May. Keith, wasn't that what he said? One more wide receiver.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Interior offensive lineman, linebacker, and maybe another DB.
Yeah, but he didn't mention edge, so I don't know if he was like really going down a list or just riffing off the top.
Or does he consider the linebacker? When he said linebacker, is that another Jack guy? Clayton Kennedy. How are y'all feeling about the 2024 center in basketball? Auburn's trying to get to reclassify. That is Flory Badunga. He is a number, I think he's top 10 overall player in the country in the 2024 class. 7-footer or 6'10" at least. And Auburn and Bruce Pearl has taken a high interest. Bruce Pearl personally recruiting this kid, and I think his season wraps up this week. So we should probably start hearing some more news about that, whether or not that's going to be a possibility. But I've been told that, and Justin Hokanson has been on top of this more than I have, but we both have been told by independent sources that Auburn is in a very good spot for Flory Badunga, especially if he reclassifies. So we'll be definitely keeping a close eye on that moving forward. AU Tiger blogging. Would it be fair to say Rivaldo Fairweather is like Alshon Jeffrey?
No. Different player.
Different player. All right, fair enough. C-Webb. Is the Vandy transfer not stepping up? Yes, he is to C-Webb. I've got him in my starting lineup beginning tomorrow.
That's probably a good – maybe he starts over Keldrick.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that was what his comment was about, is we were talking about Keldrick being the guy, and I think he was kind of asking, like, is the Vandy transfer not in that?
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think Jeffrey, I'm sorry.
I think Fairweather, it's his job to lose right now.
Yeah, I think McAllister's he's a good player. I think he's a 2-down player. I just don't think he gives you very much in the pass rush, not from what I've seen to this point.
Kyle Sweat, I agree with you. I was reading ahead, Kyle, but if you could pick which position group was by far the best group we signed in 2024, which would it be? He's going to say O-line and linebacker. I would say defensive back. It's going to be a stud group of defensive backs. Listen, as long as Zach Etheridge and now Crime Dog Wesley McGriff are here, the defensive back is not going to be it's always going to be one of the better groups. Hell, look what they did this past class.
Yeah.
I think linebacker is another position I have high expectations for.
Yeah, I go linebacker. That'd be my choice.
Jhead?
I think it's going to be wide receiver. I think that's going to be the best group of 2024. I think we're going to sell need, and I think Hugh Freeze's recruiting history in the past with wide receivers he's been able to land speaks for itself. And Marcus Davis is a young, hungry guy. I think he's going to look to stamp his name. So I think it's going to be wide receiver class.
Keith certainly hopes so.
Yeah, I'm saying O-line. I think at the end of the day, everybody's going to be talking about God, can you believe we signed a great offensive line class?
I just don't see the stars along the offensive line yet.
Yeah, I think maybe 3 4-stars and a couple high 3 stars. You know what I mean? Plus,
Okay.
I tell you what, by the
Yeah.
way, I'd be surprised if Khalil House and Jamison Riggs weren't close to 4-star status or over the hump
yeah,
by the end of the season.
Okay. I would put Khalil House and maybe even Jamison Riggs both in my mock class right now.
Yeah.
I think both of those guys could very well end up at Auburn.
And then, Casey Poe's another guy we didn't talk about tonight, but
Oh yeah, look, Casey. Now that dude gets me fired up, and because I think Auburn has a really, really good shot with him, and he's already established himself as a stud.
Yep,
and he's got some positional flexibility where he could play guard or center for you.
All right,
he's
there
a
you
guy
go.
that can, he's a guy that adds value.
My world wants to know what about the Michigan wide receiver that's trending Auburn's way?
Oh, yeah, I know who they're talking about there.
Yeah, he's talking about Marsh is his name.
Yeah.
Hang on. It was
Chris?
just in the chat. 1 second.
I'd say trending is a strong word. I would say he plans to OV, I think, at this
Nick
point.
Marsh, the number 10
Yeah.
wide receiver in the class.
Nick Marsh. That should be.
But
easy.
until he visits, I can't say he's trending.
Yeah, not trending Auburn's way, but going to visit somebody to keep an eye on.
Hey, good question, man. Anichi Sledge, one of my favorites. Where do y'all see him fitting in?
I don't know.
0 knows.
Back up?
Back up, 0 knows.
Too deep?
Probably. I wouldn't say on the too deep, no. Because I think you've got some other guys that probably are a little bit in front of him, but we'll see. I mean, I just haven't heard anything about him to this point to make me think he's in the too deep right now.
I've seen him at practice. I think he's probably a nose, like you said. I don't know I don't think he's too deep either, personally.
All right. All right. My world's got one more. Out of all the recruits who visited Auburn, who's just doing their due diligence and taking all their visits? Who's trending to commit? I think all of them are just taking as many visits as possible. All the guys coming through, they're just you see guys lining up visits one after the other. Colton Heinrich came up and visited Georgia, and then he came over to Auburn. So you see a lot of piggybacking at this time of year, piggybacking off of other visits. Who's trending to commit?
Well, you'd have to say Christian Peterson if he were a take, but maybe he is. We just don't know for sure. And then, of course, I don't want to get back into the Burnett thing, but
I'm done with him until we all thought, because remember he was like, big commitment coming soon, and we're like, yeah, okay, well, yeah, 2024. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Excuse me. WTF, my man. So I no longer. I'll just take. I'll be Missouri on him.
There you go.
So real quick, there were a few people that the last question was. There was a few people who said they heard rumors about Cam Coleman visiting this week. Is that they wanted to know if that was like any truth to that?
Two things. Two guys. I'll be surprised if they do not visit this week. DeMarcus Riddick. We've been trying to confirm it, but I would not be surprised to see him show up tomorrow. The 4-star linebacker who's committed to Georgia. He's from Chilton County, Alabama. I would not be surprised to see him visit tomorrow, although I haven't been able to confirm it. So that's why it hasn't been reported. Cam Coleman is another, I believe. If he hasn't visited by this time next week, I'll be surprised. I don't know when. I don't know which day, but I expect both of those guys to visit sometime this week. And if they don't, I'll be shocked. I'll be shocked. So those two names at the top of my board as guys who to watch this week for visiting. Cam Coleman, DeMarcus Riddick, probably the top guy on defense and maybe the top guy on offense. Probably both.
Yeah.
So
that's fair.
Hey, great freaking show, man. Great freaking show. We're in the middle of spring. We had some great callers. Oh, Johnny. Hope Johnny hadn't passed out by now, but he probably has because he never called us back. Oh, Jhead, John from Florida, LG, Clayton, Michael, Gomer, and Cartoon, man. We had some really great calls, some really great questions, some really great comments. We appreciate everybody listening. We appreciate everybody watching. One last time, for the guy who was looking for a real estate agent in the Auburn Opelika area. Lee County, Alabama. Jessica Andrus with the Talents Group. Give her a call, 334-704-4442. Tell her we sent you, man. Thanks again to everybody. We'll be back. Keith and I will. I think we'll have a special guest tomorrow morning on Inside the 20. I think we'll have another special guest on Inside the 20 on Wednesday. Keep an eye out for that. We'll see everybody back here next week. Surely, we hope. We appreciate it. Thanks again, everybody, man. For Jhead, for Cole, for Zach in the back, for Keith, I'm Jeffrey Lee, man. Y'all stay out of that left lane. See ya.